Working as a corrections officer in a rural prison might not sound like the most thrilling job, but it was a steady gig. Most nights were routine. Driving the perimeter, checking empty buildings for any signs of runaway inmates. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills. Nights at the rural prison carried a heavy, yet familiar weight. The nightly patrols, the clinking of keys against my belt, and the solitary drives around the prison's perimeter were rituals that had etched themselves into the fabric of my routine. The prison, with its imposing structures, exuded an air of stoic permanence. The moon cast its glow over the silent landscape, and the echoes of my footsteps reverberated against the prison walls. It was a weariness born not just of physical exertion, but of the relentless monotony that characterized the life of a corrections officer. The stillness of the night, punctuated only by the distant rustling of leaves and the occasional hoot of an owl, carried an undercurrent of solitude. The prison, with its towering fences and shadowed corners, stood as both a guardian of order and a silent witness to the stories that unfolded within its confines. I navigated this nocturnal realm with a stoic resolve, each step a rhythmic cadence in the symphony of prison life. It was a quiet night, and I found myself parked on a hill while driving the perimeter, seeking a moment of solace with a magazine in hand. The prison grounds stretched out before me, silent and imposing. The routine of checking buildings, though crucial, often left me yearning for a break, a few moments to disconnect from the monotony. As I flipped through the pages of the magazine, a subtle thumping vibration coursed through my body. It was an odd sensation reminiscent of the heavy bass that pulsates through speakers at a concert. At first I thought nothing of it, attributing it to fatigue or the peculiar acoustics of the night. But as the rhythmic thumping persisted, I couldn't ignore the peculiar nature of the sensation. Setting the magazine aside, I glanced into the rearview mirror, half expecting to see another vehicle causing the disturbance. However, what met my eyes defied all logic. Outside the truck, a procession of figures emerged, ethereal, translucent, and unmistakably otherworldly. The air became charged with an energy that transcended the ordinary, and a chill ran down my spine. Instinctively, my hand reached for the pistol at my side. It was second nature, a reflex honed through years of working in corrections. As I stepped out of the truck with my weapon drawn, I found myself face to face with a sight that would forever alter my perception of reality. A group of Native Americans, their forms translucent and haunting, walked through the truck as if it were an insubstantial veil. I couldn't comprehend what was unfolding before my eyes. It was as if time itself had folded, bringing forth apparitions from a history long past. The figures, some appearing visibly injured, marched with purpose through the very space I occupied. Their ghostly presence carried a weight of untold stories, a history etched into the fabric of their existence. The ghostly figures walked through the truck and through me, as if my physical presence was but a fleeting obstacle in their timeless journey. The emotions stirred within me were a swirling blend of fascination and trepidation. I grappled with a profound sense of being in the presence of something beyond the scope of my comprehension. The weight of their history, the injuries they bore, and the purpose with which they marched left an indelible mark on my senses. It was as if, for those fleeting moments, I stood at the crossroads of the living and the dead, a witness to a spectral procession that traversed the boundaries of time itself. I stood there, a corrections officer armed with a pistol, face to face with an inexplicable parade of the supernatural. The air buzzed with an energy that surpassed the boundaries of my understanding. It was an encounter that defied explanation, leaving me grappling with the reality of the unexplainable. As the last of the ghostly figures disappeared at the exact spot I had been sitting, the night returned to an eerie silence. The residual energy of the paranormal encounter lingered, leaving me in a state of bewilderment. I questioned my own senses and the validity of what I had witnessed, grappling with the reality of an experience that surpassed the confines of my understanding, wondering if the solitude of the night had played tricks on my perception. In an attempt to make sense of the inexplicable, I reached for my walkie-talkie, eager to share the surreal encounter with my fellow officer patrolling the prison's perimeter. Little did I know that he held a tale of his own, a story entwined with the same spectral procession that had just unfolded before my eyes. As my voice crackled over the walkie, recounting the ghostly scene that had played out in my rearview mirror, the response I received was not what I expected. Instead of shared disbelief or attempts at rationalization, the other officer fell silent. It turned out he had witnessed the same haunting parade before, but staunchly refused to acknowledge the supernatural. The airwaves remained quiet, an unspoken acknowledgement between two witnesses who had encountered the unexplainable. The camaraderie that often defined our shared experiences as corrections officers took a back seat to the eerie understanding that some things transcended the boundaries of conventional belief. The night pressed on, but the images of the ghostly procession lingered in my mind. The prison, once a fortress of confinement and order, had become a stage for a paranormal performance that defied the routines of my corrections officer life. The haunting encounter left an indelible mark on my perception of reality, a reminder that even in the most mundane of settings, the supernatural could weave its inexplicable tapestry. In the days and weeks that followed, I continued my duties at the rural prison, forever haunted by the ghostly procession that had walked through the fabric of my reality. The prison, with its stoic walls and imposing structures, now harbored echoes of a history that transcended the physical constraints of its boundaries. And my colleagues' steadfast refusal to acknowledge the supernatural served as a silent testament to the uncharted territories that lurked beyond the realms of the ordinary.